Alright, in this video I want to encourage you to be as wise as serpents and innocent as doves, focusing more on being as wise as serpents. We know serpents represent Lucifer, Satan, the devil, right? Deception, deceit, poison, toxin, death, right? It's not really good associations with serpents for the most part, but they are wise and patient. And in this sense, people are like serpents, and you need to know how they work and things that they would do to deceive others, deceive you, and to manipulate and do all these things that they want to do. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because I was listening to somebody make arguments that has to do with things going on around the world right now, and saying it is loving your neighbor to get a jab, and other Christian pastors saying that it's what Jesus would do, have his disciples to do, and yada yada yada. And I was thinking, this is how the serpent works. And you may be thinking, what are you talking about? Talking about loving your neighbor and how, being like Jesus? What are you talking about? Well, if you knew how serpents work and you knew how arguments work and how people use arguments not to promote the truth and find the truth, but to get their opinion and their agenda actually out there and accepted, right? As if it was something that is true and beneficial, right? So a serpent would use something like NLP, which is neural linguistic programming. Here it has neural language processing. Maybe I can find. Here we go. Neuro linguistic programming, NLP, right? And that's what I'm gonna talk about a little bit here, because what this argument does is it bypasses your frontal lobe, where you're conscious and you're aware of everything, and you reason and logic. You use reason and logic to figure things out, right? And it tries to get you into your emotions, because what's going on here is they're not using facts coming at you, right? They're not talking about what's going on in the world and facts behind it, and they're not talking about the jab and facts behind that. And I can't get into a lot of detail because this is on YouTube, and if I use certain words or get too much into it, they'll just block my video and maybe even tear down another one of my channels. So they're not getting into facts, logic, or reason. What they're doing is they're trying to bypass the front part of your brain here. I call this Adam. And the middle part of your brain I call Eve, which has to do more with emotions. And then down here, connected to the brain stem that goes into the neck and the spine, this is the reptilian part of the brain, right? And Adam's in charge. This is for men and women. You know, the conscious part of you, that's your Adam. That's like the husband, right? He's the one in charge. He decides, using logic and reasoning, what you're going to believe and what you're going to say, what you're going to do, and all those things. Can actually decide what you're going to think about and focus on. It's in charge, right? But the wife here, Adam, has a say and can convince the husband to do things, right? Because sometimes you're going to do something, but then you get angry and you do something different, or you start to feel sorry for somebody, so you change your mind about something you're going to say or do, right? Your emotions are like your Eve with you that can influence the husband, right? And we all know the story of Adam and Eve, where the serpent tricks Eve and uses Eve to get the husband, right? That's what the serpent is doing again. He's bypassing logic and reasoning. using facts and evidence, trying to get to your Eve, and get you into emotions. You should love your neighbor. You should be like Jesus. This is what Jesus would do. This is all about love and caring for others, so you should do this. Don't you care about others' lives and health? Right? And that can be enough to influence Adam to fall. And in this case, it's a perfect representation because of what's going on around the world. They want you to take a jab, and that is kind of like a snake bite, injecting something into you, right? Some toxin, some poison. It's the same story being played out in another way, right? So you need to be aware of these things because they like to use these tricky little arguments. And one of these things is like NLP. These people are obviously not Christians. They're pretending. And that's how they're using NLP. You see, NLP is a way to subtly manipulate and hypnotize somebody to get them to do what you want them to do, right? And they try to put this out to say like beneficial things, to help you to quit smoking and to be more focused. Like it has over here, more motivated and self-controlled, and you're basically rewiring your brain kind of thing, right? But these things can have also negative effects and be used negatively. The good thing about it is if you're in charge, right? The husband of your brain, the frontal lobe's in charge, you can actually be aware of these things and not allow these things in because you're going to protect your wife, your Eve, right? You're not going to let those things in, right? Even if she wants them, because of using this manipulation. You gotta tell her no, right? And how NLP works is they will mirror you. They'll try to be just like you. Such as if you're a Christian, well, I'm a Christian, right? And they try to use that to manipulate you because it gets into the subconscious. Like I was saying, they bypass Adam and they try to get to Eve. They don't want to mess with Adam because Adam's going to tell them to piss off. But to Eve, they might be able to get to her and then use her to get to him, right? So with NLP, what they'll do is do this little subconscious trick where they'll mirror you. So say they're talking to you, they'll start to talk in the same, it's kind of subtle, so you may not even notice it, but they'll try to talk with the same kind of phrases and mannerisms. They'll try to talk with the same kind of tone, volume, attitude. Try to get into the same kind of jokes you're into. If they see things around about like some sport you're into, some kind of hobby, they'll get into those things and try to relate to you with those things. But they'll also try to mimic your body language, right? They'll try to stand the way you're standing, sit the way you're sitting, move the way you're moving, express their emotions the way you express them. Some people talk with their hands, they'll do the same thing. They try to be just like you and mirror you because subconsciously you start to look at this person as you and an extension of you and part of you, and subconsciously as a friend, even if you've just met them. They're trying to get into the back door, right? And after they do this, that's when they can start manipulating. Once they get settled in and they start mirroring you, they can bring you in. An analogy of this is how you bring in a wild horse, right? You got the Mustang out there, the Bronco. You want to bring it in, right? Well, you go out there and you match the pace of the horse that you're trying to bring in, right? You're on your horse, you go out there with your lasso, and you match the pace of that horse. So that's the mirroring, right? You're trying to be like them. And then you throw the lasso around their neck. And that is a symbol of trying to make it seem as though you're close and you're friends, because when they get that lasso around your neck, they try to bring you up right up close. When you're riding your horse, throw it around that Mustang, you pull it in close to you, and you're both going at that same speed still, right? And now they want to think that you're all close and you're friends and all this, right? And then they will control the pace. They'll control the conversation. They'll control the direction of the thoughts and the questions and the direction of everything, right? So that they can manipulate and steer you because you want to catch this wild Mustang. That's how they see it. So they get you at your pace, bring you up close, and then they start to slow things down, right? You're trying to bring that horse to your speed. And once you get it to your speed, you can just walk it back to the corral, right? That's basically like, we got you now, right? And that's when you end up breaking down their will and you start putting in your will, what you decide is true and whatnot. And that's exactly what they do with these arguments, because they're not going to talk to you man to man. Even if you're a woman, what I mean is the frontal lobe to frontal lobe. They're not going to use logic. They're not going to use reasoning. They're not going to use evidence and facts. They're not going to use common sense. They're not going to use the truth. They're going to bypass that and use things such as emotion, right? Get you to feel bad about not doing what they want you to do, and to make you feel good about doing what they want you to do, right? To get you into your feelings and your emotions and let those control you and manipulate you, right? So I just wanted to make this video because this applies to a lot of different things. You see salesmen and all these people doing these things, right? They try to get you into your emotional state, like, oh, if you had this, then you would feel happy, right? You would feel really good if you bought this. Things would change in your life if you got this. They're trying to get you to think emotionally, not logically, that, no, this isn't true. I'll just have to pay this money, and I'll have to deal with this thing that I bought that isn't doing what I was hoping it would do. But maybe if I buy this next thing, I'll actually get it, right? They want you addicted to that kind of thing. And a lot of people are. That's why a lot of people end up getting taken by these arguments and these manipulations, because they are run by their emotions and habits. Habits of going after their emotions, right? So, yeah, I hope you think about these things. And the harmless as dove part, or the innocent as dove, is knowing something like this, like how the serpent works and how NLP works, but you don't use it. You may know all the little tricks that the devil uses, but doesn't mean you use them for your own benefit or even to do good. Because as a Seventh-day Adventist, that's where I learned about NLP, and they try to use that to bring people into the church, to manipulate them into the church, and that's not good. These people aren't really making that choice by their own free will. They're being manipulated into doing it, right? That's not being as innocent and as harmless as a dove. It is being as wise as a serpent, though. So they got it half down, half right. But anyway, thanks for watching and take care.